Kind-hearted girl invites homeless stranger inside. Never knew he was a billionaire seeking love. In the heart of a bustling city, where the streets hummed with the sounds of life, there lay a tiny coffee shop called the Brood Awakening. It was here that Ellie, the kind-hearted waitress, found solace from the chaotic world outside. Every day, she greeted her customers with a warm smile, her laughter ringing in the air like music. But one crisp autumn afternoon, everything changed. As the leaves danced to the ground, a figure slumped against the cafe's brick wall caught Ellie's eye. He was ragged, with a scruffy beard that looked like it hadn't seen a razor in weeks, and clothes that seemed 2 sizes too big. His eyes were a piercing blue, holding a depth that whispered of untold stories. She felt a tightness in her chest, a pulling sensation, compounding her innate desire to help. She decided to invite him in, a simple act of kindness that could crumble walls. "Hey there," she said softly, extending her hand. "You look like you could use a warm drink." But as he stumbled inside, customers' glances turned from curious to judgmental. Whispers wove a tapestry of scorn, and Ellie felt their stares like daggers on her back. Why him? Why here? Yet there was something undeniably mysterious about him. A rustle in the air like static before a storm. Just as he sipped his coffee, a notification on his phone chimed, displaying a name that sent chills down her spine. Jasper Kingsley. The room went quiet. Mouths agape. The name that echoed in tabloids, a billionaire with more wealth than most could fathom, was now sitting at her bar. How could this be? Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue. Ellie's heart raced. What was a man like that doing here, in the quaintest coffee shop in the city? Was he running away? Or was it something darker? Gasps erupted as he smiled, revealing a vulnerability normally hidden behind his billionaire mask. But the glimmers of hope in her chest whispered, maybe he just wants to be seen, really seen. Would Ellie dare to peel back the layers of mystery surrounding him? She couldn't shake the feeling that an adventure was flickering just beyond this chance encounter. But what secrets lurked behind his sad smile? As the shock settled over the cafe like a thick fog, Ellie felt the world around her blur. Jasper Kingsley, the elusive billionaire whose face graced every magazine and scandal sheet, was right in front of her. She held her breath as he took another sip, seemingly unfazed by the ruckus he caused. It was astonishing. Next to him, the bustling life of the Brood Awakening felt like a distant echo. Jasper? She ventured, her voice trembling slightly with curiosity. His piercing blue eyes met hers, and for a heartbeat time stood still. Just Jasper, he replied, an easy smile softening the hard lines of his face. No suits, no stakes. Just a guy enjoying a coffee. There was something disarming about the way he softened his identity, but the whispers from the back of the shop grew louder. Words like pretender and fraud punctured the atmosphere. Ellie glanced over her shoulder but then turned back to Jasper, a knot tightening in her stomach. Why here? She asked, her heart pulsating with the weight of unanswered questions. I mean, you could be anywhere. His gaze dropped, and in that moment vulnerability flickered in those striking eyes. Because sometimes you just want to be invisible in a sea of people, he said softly, almost as if he was confessing a mighty sin. Sometimes I just want to be me. As she absorbed his words, Ellie knew she was at a crossroads. The coffee shop's warmth had suddenly transformed into a tension-filled chamber, suffocating under the judgment of those around them. But she didn't want to pull back. She felt the urge pushing her closer. After all, in the world of excess and ambition, where could someone like Jasper turn for authenticity? Suddenly, with a jolt, Jasper's phone vibrated again. He glanced at the screen, and his expression shifted. An allure of dread crossed his face, quickly masked by that charming smile. I guess I can't hide forever, he muttered bitterly, but he kept it hidden from view. His words wrapped around Ellie, her body betraying her heart's fierce desire to help. You're not alone, Jasper. Whatever's waiting out there, you don't have to face it by yourself, she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. His eyes searched hers, and what Ellie found was less of a billionaire lost in a disguise and more of a man battling a storm within. Maybe it was something darker. Before she could say more, a loud crash from behind the cafe drew their attention. The door swung open violently, revealing a group of individuals dressed in dark clothes. Their expressions were fierce, and the laughter of cafe patrons dwindled into breathy whispers. The tension shifted, morphing into palpable fear. "Is he in here?" one of the newcomers barked, scanning the room like a predator. Ellie's heart dropped. The men meant business, and whatever it was they wanted, Jasper was at the center of it. She turned to him wide-eyed. "What did you get yourself into?" "Ellie, listen," Jasper began, his voice low, filled with urgency. But as the group advanced, the cafe's atmosphere crackled with danger, and Ellie knew that running away was no longer an option. She made her decision in an instant, every fiber of her being calling her to protect this man she had only just met. "Don't leave me," she whispered, her grip tightening on the countertop as the looming threat grew nearer. The moment hung heavy in the air, the certainty of chaos crackling like static. Jasper's eyes locked onto hers, brimming with a mix of fear and determination. "I won tea," he breathed, just as one of the strangers pointed at him with a sinister grin. "We found you." An overwhelming rush of adrenaline surged through Ellie. What now? She thought, fear intertwining with the thrill of what could be an adventure or a disaster. But one thing was clear: their lives had just collided in a way neither could have predicted. And the storm was far from over. As the tension thickened, Ellie felt dread pooling in her stomach. What was hidden behind Jasper's facade? And what would they both face in this frightening twist of fate? The group stepped forward, and Ellie's breath hitched in her throat. Each face was hardened, with cruel smirks that spoke of danger. The cafe was closing in on her, the walls seemingly pressing against her as if trying to squeeze out the tension. "You'd think he could pick a better hiding spot," the leader sneered, his voice cutting through the air like a jagged knife. With one swift motion he pulled out a phone and flicked a picture of Jasper onto the screen. "Look at him. So suave, so normal. But we know the truth." Everyone else in the cafe fell silent, eyes darting between the scene unfolding and one another, uncertainty palpable among patrons who once reveled in coffee chatter. Jasper seemed rooted in place, his smile replaced with a stone-cold mask. Fear flickered behind his eyes, but it was quickly buried. "Jasper Kingsley," the man declared, loud enough for the entire room to hear. "Thought you could be a man of the people, huh? You can't outrun your past." Ellie gripped the counter, her knuckles turning white. What was happening? How far had Jasper fallen into the depths of a life none of this cozy cafe clientele could understand? Despite her pounding heart, warmth continued to course through Ellie's veins. Somehow she needed to speak up. "Leave him alone." Her voice shot out, cracking at the edges but steady with conviction. Conversations fluttered to hushed gasps, but Ellie pressed on. "You can't just storm in here, shut it, girl." One of the dark-clad figures barked, turning his steely gaze on her. "This doesn't concern you." "But it does." She shot back instinctively, urgency spilling out of her. Jasper turned to her, his eyes wide, a mix of gratitude and horror. He looked like he wanted to reach for her, to pull her away from this chaos, but he remained still, knowing that any kind of movement might trigger a storm. "Ellie," he whispered just loud enough for her to hear, "you don't have to. I won't let you do this." She interrupted, her voice climbing. "Whatever is going on, you don't need to face it alone. I'm here." The leader laughed, a cold, mocking sound that sent shivers through the cafe. "She thinks she can save you. What a cliché." He stepped closer to Ellie, his breath heavy with disdain. "You think you know him? This man is dangerous. He is a coward hiding behind his privileges. Don't be naive. Shut up." This time the urgency in Ellie's voice broke through the tension. "You don't know anything about him." "Enough." Jasper's voice boomed, shocking both Ellie and the group in black. "This is between you and me. Let her go." His eyes shone with an intensity she had not seen before, a fierce protectiveness. The leader scoffed, crossing his arms. "Oh wow. The little billionaire has a backbone after all. But let me make one thing clear, Jasper. There's no escaping our consequences. You've run long enough. We will end this tonight." Jasper stiffened and Ellie's heart raced. "Run," she whispered, panic rising. "What did you do?" His eyes darted to the ground, the weight of his secret clearly heavier than mere words. The cafe felt increasingly claustrophobic, air thickening with every passing second. What had she stumbled into? Suddenly, Jasper angled towards Ellie, and their eyes locked again. "I'll explain everything. I promise," he said, desperation ringing in every syllable. "But right now we need to move." And with that, the atmosphere shifted from one of confrontation to high stakes. Ellie's instincts kicked in as adrenaline sparked a fire within her. They could either run or face whatever darkness lay in waiting. Before she could decide, the lights above flickered, and the sound of sirens wailed in the distance. Ellie's pulse raced. "Now," Jasper urged, tugging at her wrist with fierce determination as they prepared to bolt. Time seemed to freeze. Would they escape the web of danger tightening every second? Or would Jasper's past finally catch up with him and her? The door swung open just as they moved. What awaited them outside could change everything. Would they find safety or plunge into a deeper abyss? The chase had just begun. Ellie's heart thundered as Jasper yanked her through the doorway. Sunlight blinded her momentarily, and the roar of the outside world collided with the terrifying tension they'd just left behind. The street was chaotic, honking cars, frantic shoppers, and whispers of disbelief hovered in the air. "Where do we go?" Ellie blurted, her voice almost swallowed by the external chaos. She glanced back at the cafe. The dark figures loomed in the doorway, whispering sharply as they plotted their next move. "Just keep running," Jasper shouted, his grip firm on her wrist. They dashed around the corner, hearts pounding like drums. The city felt different now, a labyrinth of shadows as danger dogged their every step. Ellie stumbled slightly, and Jasper tightened his hold, pulling her into a narrow alley, the bricks damp and rough against her palm as she braced herself against the cool wall. "Jasper, what is happening? Who were they?" She panted, frustration and fear slicing through her like cold air. He swallowed hard, glancing back toward the street as if expecting them to appear at any moment. "They're part of my past, a bad one," he admitted, the shadows flickering across his face. "I thought I left it behind." "What do you mean?" The panic in her chest tightened. Did you do something illegal?" Jasper's jaw clenched, and for a moment, he looked so vulnerable. "No, I just got mixed up with the wrong crowd. I was naive. I thought I could help them." Ellie's breath caught, realization dawning. "You were trying to save them? The people at the cafe, they knew you." A flash of shame crossed his features. "More than that. I trusted them. But trust means nothing when betrayal is involved. They took my kindness for weakness." And now his voice trailed off into a grim silence. Suddenly, a loud crash rang out from the street, arresting their attention. Ellie peeked around the corner, her heart leaping as she spotted a black SUV screeching to a halt. The figures in black were spilling out, their faces masked with cold intent. "We need to move now," Jasper hissed, urgency crystallizing in his voice. They darted deeper into the alley, cutting through the lingering shadows. Ellie's instincts screamed at her to be afraid, but looking at Jasper, she also felt a pull, an innate need to keep him safe. "Why don't you just tell the police?" she suggested, her mind racing. "They won't believe me," he replied bitterly, leading her through a series of twists and turns. "They'll see me as the villain, not the hero I tried to be. No one knows who I really am, and I can't put you in that danger." But Ellie hesitated, the weight of his words pressing down on her. "You're not a villain. You're just human." He stopped abruptly, spinning to face her, his expression a tormented mix of gratitude and despair. "But they don't see it that way, Ellie. I can't let this ruin you. I won't let them get to you." Before she could respond, the distant wail of sirens intensified, slicing through their cocoon of danger. Panic jolted through Ellie. "They're coming. What are we going to do?" Jasper's eyes darted around, assessing their surroundings. "There's an old storage space at the end of this street. I know it's undiscovered, we can hide there." They sprinted forward, their breaths mingling together as their legs powered through the fear constricting their lungs. As they reached the building, they slipped inside just before the black-clad figures rounded the corner. The door creaked as Jasper pushed it closed, the sound echoing ominously. Inside, darkness swallowed them whole. Ellie's heart raced, memories of laughter and light fading. "Is this it?" she whispered, clinging to the fading hope amidst the tension. But before either could take a breath, Jasper's phone buzzed violently in his pocket. They exchanged a glance. Jasper pulled it out cautiously, his face pale as he read the message. "It's from them," he muttered, eyes wide with dread. "They know we're close." A surge of adrenaline shot through Ellie as the room spun with their silent panic. Would they be caught? Or was this just the beginning of the end? "Ellie," Jasper murmured, drawing closer to her, "we need to figure something out before it's too late." And as the looming threat outside closed in, uncertainty coated the air thickly. What would they uncover next? Would their secrets drag them down? Or could they find a way to turn the tide? The darkness that enveloped them hinted at more than just danger, it hinted at choices that would define their fate. Ellie and Jasper stood in the suffocating blackness of the storage space, the silence almost deafening. Each shallow breath felt loud, the air thick with tension. The message on Jasper's phone lay heavy between them, a grim reminder of the danger lurking just outside. "What if they find us?" Ellie whispered, her voice trembling. The thought of being discovered sent chills down her spine, her pulse racing like a wild beast. Jasper's eyes narrowed, his face set in determined lines. "They won't," he assured her, though the quiver in his voice betrayed his uncertainty. "Not if we stay quiet and stick to the shadows." Another loud crash echoed from the street outside, followed by angry shouts. It sent them both flinching deeper into the darkness. Ellie clutched her arms around herself, feeling the damp chill seep into her bones. Why did you have to get involved with them?" He ran a hand through his hair, exasperation flashing in his eyes. "I thought I could help. I thought they wanted out. It was a dumb mistake." He paused, guilt washing over his features. "But I never thought it would come to this." Ellie leaned closer, her heart aching for him. "You tried to be a good person. That counts for something." In response, Jasper clenched his jaw, anger bubbling just beneath the surface. "Not when it puts you in danger." Suddenly, a loud thud reverberated through the door. They froze, hearts pounding in unison. "They're here," Ellie breathed, the reality crashing down on her. "Sure," Jasper urged, his eyes wide as he moved closer. He pressed a finger to his lips, urging her to be silent. The door rattled again, and Ellie's heart raced faster. Shadows flickered under the door's edge as heavy boots shuffled outside. "I can't do this," she whispered, panic rising. "What if they know we're inside?" "They don't," Jasper insisted fiercely. "Just stay calm." He eyed the exit, weighing their options as the door creaked softly. "If we have to, we'll fight our way out. But I want to try and wait it out first." Ellie nodded, her breathing uneven. The realization hit her hard. She was in this, fully invested in Jasper's reckless past. The bond between them tightened, even as fear pooled in her gut. "What do we do when they come in?" "We make a plan," Jasper answered, voice firm. "This isn't over yet." They remained huddled in the dark, adrenaline coursing through their veins. Time seemed to stretch and contract, each moment feeling like a lifetime. After what felt like an eternity, the noises from the outside faded momentarily. What were they saying? Ellie pressed, needing any sort of information. "They mentioned something about tracking us," he replied, his expression tightening. "They've got eyes everywhere." "I should have warned you," but she interrupted him, a flicker of hope sparking in her chest. "Then we need to use that against them. If they have eyes on us, maybe we can slip away." "Even if we do," Jasper hesitated, searching her eyes. "Where would we go? They'll be waiting." Ellie felt the weight of despair and determination battling within her. "We'll figure it out together. First we have to get out of here." Just as Jasper opened his mouth to respond, all hell broke loose. The door smashed open, the hinges squeaking in protest. Bright flashes from outside illuminated their hiding space as the figures rushed in. "Search everywhere." A voice barked. "They can't be far." In that moment, fear surged like electricity, rippling through every nerve. Ellie gasped, instinctively reaching for Jasper, their hands grasping in a desperate bid for safety. He met her gaze, his expression firm with resolve. "We can't go back now," he whispered urgently, already thinking a step ahead. With nowhere to run, they both knew this was only the beginning. What shocking truths would they uncover when the smoke cleared? And would they make it through this alive, or would their odds run out here? Ellie's breath quickened. Together, they would face whatever danger awaited. But as the shadows closed in, she couldn't shake the feeling that something much darker was coming for them. The shadows swept into the dim storage space, invading the sanctuary where Ellie and Jasper had found temporary refuge. The figures outside moved quickly, their frantic whispers creeping through the broken door like a thief in the night. The cold grip of terror tightened around Ellie's heart. Where could they be? One voice barked, echoing with authority. It was a voice filled with impatience, a voice that demanded answers. Jasper's fingers tightened around Ellie's, grounding her in a reality that felt increasingly surreal. The weight of their situation pressed down on them, thicker than the darkness surrounding them. There was little time left to rely on luck. Stay close, Jasper whispered, his breath barely audible. He glanced around the cramped space. It was filled with dusty boxes and broken furniture, shadows clinging to each corner. Not much could provide cover, but they needed to think fast. Suddenly, a beam of light sliced through the darkness, illuminating Jasper's determined face and Ellie's wide-eyed panic. I found something over here, a figure shouted, moving closer. The shadows had teeth. Ellie's skin prickled with fear. Jasper, we can't just sit here. We have to wait, he insisted, keeping his voice steady. They want to know we're here. As their breaths synchronized, the room grew unbearably tense. Ellie could feel her heart thrumming harder in her chest. They were trapped in a nightmare unfolding just outside their fragile hideout. The pounding of boots grew louder, but one voice carried above the rest. They've got to be here. They wouldn't have gone far. With each thud, Ellie imagined the faces of the shadowy pursuers, hard, cruel, unforgiving. The notion of being hunted struck her with cold clarity, and a surge of panic clawed its way up her throat. Jasper, we can't let them find us. Just then, a distant sound echoed through the warehouse, something metallic, like the sharp clink of chains. Ellie's ears perked up, straining to catch even the slightest whisper. What was that? She breathed. Did you hear it? Jasper asked, his voice not a whisper but a hard truth, filled with urgency. It sounded like someone else, she replied. Or something else, he countered, eyeing the door. They didn't have time for conjecture. Ellie's heart raced at the thought of being caught, and yet curiosity tangled with fear. The lead pursuer stepped into the room, the policing beam illuminating dust motes swirling in the strained air. He scanned the area, a predator on the hunt. You two aren't getting away this time. Jasper's eyes flicked across the cramped space, seeing the flickering shadows of other pursuers forming behind the first. Time felt suspended, adrenaline fueling a primal instinct. They had to act. We have to move, he urged, his grip tightening around Ellie's hand. Before she could reply, footsteps pounded closer, echoing through her mind like ominous drums. They were out of time. In a split second, Jasper led Ellie towards the back of the storage room. Now, he hissed, pushing aside a stack of boxes, revealing a narrow opening hidden behind the clutter, a potential escape. But as they began to slip through, Ellie froze. What if it's a trap? She gasped, doubt creeping in. If we stay, we'll definitely get caught. Jasper countered, his voice fierce. Trust me. The shadows were at the door, deepened by the clamor erupting in the adjoining space. Ellie looked up at Jasper, her resolve crumbling, and then hardened just as quickly. Together? She asked, eyes glimmering with desperation. Always, he promised. They slipped through the opening just as the door burst open fully, metal screeching against the frame. Ellie held her breath, squeezing through the tight space, praying that they wouldn't be spotted. With the world collapsing behind them, they crawled into the unknown, leaving chaos in their wake. As they emerged into the dim passageway beyond, it dawned on them that this wouldn't be the end. They had escaped one danger, but another loomed ahead. Ellie turned to Jasper, the fear still etched in her eyes. Where do we go now? But even as the words left her lips, an unsettling thought entered her mind. What if the real threat wasn't the pursuers outside, but someone else entirely hiding in the dark? The echo of footfalls filled the air again. Jasper's breath quickened. We keep moving, we have to find a way out of this city before they catch up. And just where would that lead them next? As the passage continued deeper into darkness, uncertainty loomed like a specter. Would they find safety or head into yet another trap, waiting for the net to close around them? The narrow passageway swallowed Ellie and Jasper, each step echoing with the weight of uncertainty. As the darkness enveloped them, fear curled in Ellie's stomach like a coiled snake, whispering ceaseless reminders of their precarious situation. They stumbled through the dimness, the shadows shifting and twisting like living, breathing creatures. "Do you think they saw us?" Ellie whispered, glancing back toward the dim light fading behind them. "I don't know, but we shouldn't stop to find out," Jasper replied, his voice strained but resolute. He moved swiftly, pulling Ellie along. A sudden crash echoed in the distance and Ellie flinched, adrenaline flooding her system. They had to stay quiet. Every creak of wood or shuffle of feet seemed amplified in the silence, a reminder that their pursuers were relentless, hunting them down like animals. The air felt thick, and Ellie's lungs struggled to keep pace with the frantic rhythm of her heart. "What if we get lost?" she asked, panic creeping back into her voice. Images of dark corners and hidden foes rushed through her mind. Who knew what lurked in this place? "Then we'll find our way like we always do," Jasper assured her. But even as he said it, doubt flickered in his eyes ahead. The hallway narrowed, the gloom swallowing them whole. One blink, one hesitation could spell disaster. Just when Ellie thought they might break free from danger, they rounded a corner, and that idea shattered. A heavy metal door slammed shut just ahead, cutting off their escape. Jasper skidded to a stop, heart pounding. Great. Just great. He clenched his fists, frustration bubbling beneath the surface. "Look, an exit." Ellie pointed down a side passage that looped away from the door. It was cramped, littered with debris, a perfect hiding spot or a perfect trap as they navigated the tight space. The smell of rust and mildew thickened in the air. A distant scraping sound echoed behind them, sending Ellie's stomach into her throat. They moved faster, until they emerged into another alleyway, breathing in the chill of the night air. "Are we safe?" she panted, scanning the street. She could see shadows dancing in the distance, but no one was close enough to threaten them yet. "For now," Jasper replied, but his eyes were locked on an alley merging into the street. "We need to keep moving, we can't let them regroup." Ellie nodded, holding on to Jasper's hand tightly like a lifeline. They pressed deeper into the city's web of alleys and side streets, the maze twisting and turning like a dark carnival ride. They dodged trash cans and broken crates, their feet a blur in the shadows. But the distant thud of boots grew louder, weaving through the corners like a hunting dog. Just as fear began to gnaw at her resolve, a flicker of light caught Ellie's eye. "There." She pointed, her heart racing. "A store." "Are you crazy?" Jasper shot back. "We can't just hide in plain sight. We don't have a choice." Ellie replied, panic rising in her voice. "We can't let them see us." With little time to spare, they dashed inside, the bell jingle working as a cruel reminder that they could be found at any moment. The shop was dark and cluttered, filled with remnants of a world long forgotten. A flickering overhead light barely illuminated the aisles, shadows dancing dangerously close. Ellie pressed against a shelf of dusty books as Jasper peered around the corner, heart leaping into his throat. Something stirred in the back of the store, deep, dark, nebulous movement. He strained to see, dread pooling in his gut. "Do you see anything?" Ellie whispered, but her voice trembled as she watched him. "Just something moving." Jasper's eyes narrowed as he focused, breathing heavy. Suddenly, the creeping silence shattered like glass when the shadows shifted, revealing a figure no one saw coming. Ellie's breath caught, fear feeding a surge of adrenaline. "Jasper, what is that?" But he was too focused, the world around them growing faint as the mystery unfolded. What they thought was safety might just be another layer of danger waiting to pounce. Little did they know the true test was only beginning, and whatever was lurking just beyond their vision could change everything. "Get ready," Jasper muttered, bracing for whatever would come next. What awaited them, a friend or a foe? Time would tell. Ellie felt her heartbeat thunder in her ears as the figure emerged from the shadows, its outline gradually sharpening. A tall silhouette, cloaked in darkness, stepped forward with eerie calmness. Ripped jeans and a frayed hoodie made the shape look harmless at first, but the weight of mystery clung to the air like a damp fog. "Who's there?" Jasper's voice broke the silence, both a challenge and a plea. The figure didn't answer right away, instead taking another step into the flickering light. Ellie's fears coiled tighter around her heart as the face came into focus. It was a man, but his expression was unreadable, part curiosity, part danger. "Hey, I'm not here to hurt you," he said, his voice low but steady. "I saw you running. You look like you're in trouble." "Trouble?" Ellie echoed, her eyes darting to Jasper. You don't even know the half of it. Doesn't he matter? I can help, but you have to trust me, he replied, the shadows framing his face accentuating the sincerity in his gaze. It was odd how, in this place of despair, his eyes sparkled like stars. Trust you? Why should we? Jasper stepped in front of Ellie, protective instincts flaring. We don't even know who you are. The man raised his hands in surrender, frustration flickering across his features. I'm Tom. Just a guy who knows what it's like to need a safe place. If they're hunting you, you need to move. You can't stay here. Ellie felt the weight of indecision settle over her. Tom looked genuine, but the city had taught her that danger often wore a caring mask. The scraping noise echoed again, closer this time, sending a shiver down her spine. This was not the time for hesitations. What's your plan? Jasper pressed, never letting his guard down. How do we know you're not leading us straight into their hands? Tom glanced back toward the door, anxiety creeping into his posture. You don't. But I know this place better than most. I can get you to safety, but you have to hurry. Before they could respond, the bell above the shop door jingled again. Their hearts dropped as a group of shadowy figures entered, draped in dark clothing, eyes scanning the room. Ellie barely stifled a gasp. It was fear basing itself into her bones. Now, Tom snapped. He lunged forward, grabbing each of them by the arm. Trust me now or never. They bolted deeper into the store alongside Tom, ducking behind shelves filled with forgotten treasures. Breathless and uncertain, Ellie found herself caught between fear and wild hope. Where are we going? She whispered urgently, her voice barely more than a breath. Just keep moving, don't look back, Tom urged them. They dashed through a narrow corridor, opening into an exodus of crates and boxes. The low hum of murmurs and footsteps grew louder around them, mixing adrenaline with fear. They reached a door at the far end, its metal frame rusted, but the exit shone like a beacon. It sputtered with the promise of escape. Tom paused, glancing over his shoulder, tension crackling in the air. But just as they were about to burst through the door, a shout echoed from the entrance of the store, a voice that cut through the chaos like shattered glass. They're here. Ellie's heart dropped. They were surrounded. Go, Tom urged, shoving them forward as he turned to face their pursuers. The courage radiated from him, and Ellie felt the gravity of the decision looming. Jasper, she pleaded, her eyes wide with fear. What do we do? But Jasper was already moving. He grabbed Ellie's hand, urgency igniting his steps as they barreled out the door and into the night. They raced down a dark alleyway, but with each step, a question loomed behind them. Was Tom truly a friend? Or had they just stepped out of frying pan into fire? Split up, Jasper shouted, glancing back just as the first figures spilled through the door. The sound of pounding feet filled the air. Ellie hesitated, caught between running with Jasper or risking it all for another uncertain ally. Ellie, Jasper's voice shattered her moment of stillness. Now. And with that, she turned away from Tom, terror gripping her as she plunged deeper into the darkness alongside Jasper. But what lay ahead? Behind them, the night grew heavy with the looming suspense of what was to come. Were they truly free? Or had they just set themselves up for something far worse? Ellie and Jasper sprinted through the alley, shadows closing in behind them. The pounding of feet echoed off the brick walls, a relentless reminder that they were not safe yet. Where do we go? Ellie gasped, breathless, her chest tightening with every stride. Jasper didn't slow down, gripping her hand tightly as they zigzagged past dumpsters and flickering streetlights. I don't know. Somewhere they can't find us, he yelled. His voice was strained, but that edge of adrenaline in his tone fueled her determination. They turned left, darting down another narrow passage between buildings. A sudden clang made her jump, a dumpster lid slamming shut somewhere behind them. The noise had a terrifying finality. They didn't share words, but Ellie and Jasper felt the same surge of urgency, a sense that every second mattered. As they rounded the corner, Ellie spotted an old rusted fire escape. There. Up, she shouted, pointing. Jasper nodded and they scrambled toward it, the metal rungs cold against their skin as they climbed in hasty unison. Once they reached the top, they flattened themselves against the gritty rooftop, panting. Ellie's heart hammered, and she squeezed her eyes shut for a moment, trying to block out the fear swelling inside. They peered over the edge, watching the scene below. The dark figures spilled into the alley, their movements precise and practiced. They were searching, combing through the area with unwavering determination. "They're looking for us," Jasper whispered, his voice low. Fear cloaked his words. Ellie shivered, feeling exposed. "What if they find us here?" "Then we move again," he replied, but the certainty in his voice was waning. The night seemed to stretch endlessly, each second an agonizing test of patience. Ellie's mind raced. What would they do? What would happen if those figures discovered them? The uncertainty gnawed at her, but she forced herself to focus, forcing back the panic rising in her throat. A couple of blocks away, she could hear distant traffic, the low hum of life going on while she and Jasper lay hidden from sights, very aware of how easily that life could shatter. A wail of a siren echoed, and her stomach twisted. "What do we do if they don't leave?" she asked, trying to sound calm. Jasper sighed, rubbing the back of his neck absently. "We may have to take a chance and head back to Tom. He might know a better way out. Or it could be a trap." Ellie shot back, her voice rising in desperation. "Look, we both want to survive, right? If we stay here, we're as good as trapped." "We need to make a decision," Jasper urged, the resolve in his voice trying to quell her doubts. She swallowed hard, fear bubbling up again. Tom hadn't been with them. He had sacrificed himself. But still he'd given them a chance. Maybe he really could help. "Okay, let us go back," she said finally, her voice quaking with trepidation. "But we stick together." Jasper nodded, determination etched on his expression. Holding hands tightly, they crept carefully back down the fire escape, making sure to keep their movements silent. As they reached the ground, shadows flickered at the end of the alley. Ellie froze, her breath catching in her throat, realization dawning. One of them, it's coming this way. Ellie's heart raced again as they pressed back against the wall. She barely dared to breathe. Then they heard the voice, low and taunting, cutting through the night like a knife. "They can't hide forever. They think they can just run and forget." They'll learn. Ellie's stomach dropped. "What do we do?" But before Jasper could answer, an arm shot around the corner ahead. Someone was closer than they thought, and the hunt was far from over. Jasper breathed, eyes wide with dread. They were running out of time. Would they find safety, or were they about to fall into a trap? The thrilling question hung in the air, like the conclusion of a horrific game of chance, as they strained to listen for their next move. The shadows that haunted the alleys now felt like a living nightmare, chasing right behind Ellie and Jasper as they dashed back toward the storage space, fueled by fear and the promise of an uncertain ally. The stakes were sky-high: escape, trust, or betrayal danced just beyond their grasp. "Keep your head down," Jasper urged, moving cautiously as they crept back to the alley. With a surge of adrenaline moving through her, Ellie clutched his hand tighter, forcing herself to focus. Whatever lay ahead was an ominous unknown, but she felt Jasper's determination radiate warmth against the coldness surrounding them. They paused just outside the door of the shop, listening intently as muffled voices echoed inside, threatening and animated. "If they got away this time, they won. Slipped through our fingers again," one voice sneered. The tension coiled tighter around Ellie's chest, stifling her breath. Would Tom really be willing to help them after abandoning him so suddenly? "We need to find another way in," Jasper whispered, scanning the street. But before they could make a move, a shadow darted from the door entrance, catching Ellie's eye. It was Tom, his face serious but desperate. "There you are. I thought I'd lost you," he hissed, pulling them further into the shadows before anyone could see them. "You were gone too long. It's too risky here." "What do you know?" Jasper challenged, his voice low but tense, protective instincts flaring again. "I know they're circling and we have no time. We need to split up," Tom replied, urgency wrapping around his every word. "Split up? Are you insane?" Ellie felt her heart dip into dread. "You can't be serious." "I'm serious," said Tom, a flicker of urgency in his eyes. "I can lead them away. But you two have to make it to the east side of the city. There's a safe house there. It'll shield you." Jasper hesitated, glancing at Ellie, weighing their options again. "What if this is a trap?" "No. I'm not here to trick you," Tom snapped, tension pulsing beneath his voice. "You don't have the luxury of choice. If you stay, you're done." Ellie felt a tight knot in her stomach. "But now is not the time to debate," Tom stressed. "They could come back any moment. And if they find us here, his words hung like a threat between them. Fine, but what if something happens to you? Ellie felt the warmth of their camaraderie flicker, fear tightening her grip on Jasper even more. Then you live. You fight. You escape, Tom urged, a twist of urgency painting his features. Do not let them catch you. With a last uncertain glance, Jasper nodded, signaling the weight of their understanding. They didn't have time for hesitation. They had to put faith in this fragile connection. Okay, Jasper finally said, the decision sealing their fate. I'll meet you at the intersection of 3rd Avenue and Elm. Tom promised, swinging into the shadows, disappearing quickly from sight. As Jasper and Ellie stood breathlessly in the stillness, uncertainty gripped them. What if this doesn't work? Ellie asked, her voice shaking so profoundly she could barely hear it herself. Then we fight, Jasper breathed, his shoulders squared with resolution. Together. In that moment, the connection between them blossomed with fierce strength, an unspoken vow to protect one another. They took off down the street, weaving through the night, the warmth of their determination igniting the path ahead. The city felt immense, sprawling like a dangerous puzzle. Each corner was an escape, an ending, or perhaps another beginning. There. Jasper pointed to a dimly lit side street, where a flickering sign indicated another shop. That might give us cover. As they dashed toward the establishment, adrenaline pumped rapidly through their veins. Fear nudged at their heels as a gut-wrenching sound erupted from the shadows. A group of figures, now in pursuit. Ellie gasped as they hurried inside, closing the door just before the predatory laughter echoed outside. The shop was cluttered but promising, old furniture stacked high against the walls. Do you think they saw us? Ellie panted, pressing her back against the door, eyes wide and apprehensive. I don't know, but we can't stay here, Jasper shot back, scanning for another exit. Just then, heavy footsteps thudded outside, the group now combing the area with ruthless intent. They have to be close. A familiar voice one of their pursuers shouted, sending chills down Ellie's spine. They won't get far. The door rattled and panic seeped into her bones. What do we do? Find a way out back, Jasper said, voice steady as he pointed toward a faint light around the corner of the shop. We'll stick to the shadows. With every ounce of courage, they slipped into the dimly lit passageway, where the air was thick with mustiness. Shadows melded together in a disorienting haze, and Ellie felt her heart racing. They needed to find safety before their past caught up with them. Keep moving, Jasper urged, glancing back as they hurried into the dark. They burst through the back door and into an alley, the cold air hitting them with an unexpected force. Suddenly, Ellie felt the ground shift as a door flew open behind them with a loud creak. The thrill of danger turned into panic again. Over there. Jasper pointed toward the end of the alley, where they spotted a window left carelessly ajar, light spilling onto the pavement like an invitation. Climb, he urged. The urgency of the moment shot through Ellie. She felt compelled to leap into the unknown. Together, they quickly ascended to the window, their resolve unwavering. And just as Ellie catapulted through the opening, the sound of footsteps behind them confirmed they were not yet safe. She landed with a thud, and they dashed into the night, echoing the last words Tom had shared. Evade, escape, survive. They knew the shadows were still behind them, alive and angry. But together they were stronger, a flicker of hope within the chaos. And as they burst into the heart of the city, Ellie looked at Jasper, seeing a strength mirrored in his eyes. Whatever happens next, we face it together, she promised, her voice fierce. Together, he affirmed, as the darkness rushed around them, hinting at the relentless nail-biting twists still to come. Their journey was still underway, the true challenge yet to be unveiled. But one thing was certain. They had found a bond forged in fire, a willingness to own their destiny, and a fierce desire to fight for their survival. And as they plunged forward, their hearts aligned like a symphony in the struggle for freedom, Ellie felt a determination swell within her. In this chaotic world, they wouldn't just be running anymore, they would be fighting for their lives until they found a way back into the light. Now the chase was on, but it was just the beginning. Don't forget, if you've enjoyed this wild ride, it's time to support us in every way possible. Subscribe immediately to make sure you don't miss out on the next heart-pounding chapter. Smash that like button now to supercharge our reach with your love. Flood the comments with your reactions and theories, because we want to hear from you. And don't wait even one more second, share this with at least 5 friends who need to see how this incredible journey unfolds. Trust us, every click counts and we appreciate you, our dedicated fans.